I'm Rob with Pursuit of Purpose.
I'm Chuck.
And we are bringing you another episode of the What Are We Doing Tuesday at 10 live show. And we've been doing a series called
Is It Right?
And today we're going to close that series out and start a new one. And the new series, and by the way, we have had some great discussions in that Is It Right series. And if ever any of you out there in the audience listen to or watch any of those series, and you have any questions or want to discuss any of those topics that we brought up in that, we'd be glad to go into that with you. But this new series is going to be about being a dad and fatherhood.
Yes.
Because this is a big topic in our society, in our culture, in America, but all over the world. But it hits home.
Yes.
Right here in our own backyard.
Right.
And it just so happens, folks, that we're both dads.
Yes. Yes.
So we got a little bit of experience with that. We both have different variations of blended families. And we also, in our practices and in our daily lives, we deal with other families with and without dads.
Right.
So it's a big topic. It affects everyone. And we would love to know what being a dad or having a dad or living without one means to you. How has it affected you? And what would be helpful to you to discuss in this regard? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And even some of the healthy components, like if you did have a good dad, or if you find yourself taking from some of those positive experiences in your childhood, having a good dad, but you found that there's opportunity for you to share that maybe with other kids who don't. I know Rob's taken a lot of kids into his home who needed parents, more specifically a dad. So we want to run a full gamut here. You know, not only some of the evidence of the absence, but also the evidence of the presence.
Absolutely. So at the onset, let's just talk about what is a dad. So any male of the human species can become, well, just about anyone can become a father, can produce sperm, inseminate an egg, and create a baby.
Right.
But that does not constitute being a dad.
That's right. At any age.
That's right. Well, just about. Yeah.
I say this because I'm into a lot of supplements, as I know many of you are. We just can't have the healthiest life we want from eating grilled chicken salads every day. You're going to have something. So I'm talking to this particular lady and her mom who are into these supplemental products, and they were talking about how this particular product helps with manhood. And I'm like, manhood? Of course, they had to explain what they meant. Oh, okay. They said, and that can happen well into adulthood. And the mother leans in. She goes, remember when Bob Barker fathered a child? I go, yes. He was like 80. She goes, see what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, that poor kid, because Bob Barker's healthy, but I don't know if he's going to make it to graduation.
Right. That's pretty rough.
But that reiterates your point of you can be fathers. You can father a child, if you will, at all ages, but that doesn't necessarily make a dad. So we're hoping to find that more impacting component rather than the donation.
Yes. And then you can actually be a dad without ever fathering a child.
Yes.
And we'll talk about what that means. And just so that you out there listening or watching know, myself, my family, my wife and I, we have what we consider to be the ultimate blended family. We have kids from first marriages. We each had kids. Then we have, that gives us the quote unquote step parent relationship. But then we also got the ultimate bonus kids in that we adopted.
Yes.
And we adopted from all sorts of circumstances. We have a daughter from Guatemala. We have interfamily adoption. And then we have emergency placement style adoption through, like CPS. And that is an amazing experience. Like you talk about learning how to parent in a very real way. Like
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
And something that people don't often think about, and I like to talk about this because it's very important, especially to young parents. When you're raising someone else's genetic child,
Mhm.
there is a relatability gap that often people don't discuss. There's no class that's going to teach you this, or at least none that I know of. And when you have a genetic child, that kid is going to bear your similarities, your facial expressions, your nonverbal communications, your tone of voice.
Mhm.
Those kids bear those things and they can help it. So it's easy to relate to them.
Mhm.
But when you have a non-genetically related child and you're making the effort to relate to them and communicate with them effectively, there are some enormous obstacles or opportunities
Right.
for growth on your part, because it doesn't just happen.
Right.
And in your mind as a parent, especially as a dad, you're expecting them to get it. Like, whatever it is. And you want to ask them, why didn't you do this?
Mhm.
And they give you that dumb look. We all do it, right? When Chuck, why did you do that?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. But the truth is, they don't know how to communicate with you
No.
the way that a genetic child would.
Right.
And it's not their fault, and it's not your fault. So there are things that we can do with good practices of communication that can open those gaps, or close those gaps and open doors of communication, and give that kid access to your heart and you access to theirs.
It seems like those scenarios basically lend itself to say you have to be that much more deliberate in expressing, and also in a sense demanding from your child to learn these better habits, because they're not just going to pick it up by being in a familiar setting. A lot of families, and we counsel and coach with a lot of folks, and whenever we start asking them questions about how they see things and how they respond to things, I might just ask, and I know you probably do, like, well, where'd you learn to do that? And almost without exception, they go back to their family, but they can't really tell you there was moments. It just happened. Well, when you have, in y'all's situation, an adopted child, well, you have to be very purposeful in making it happen.
Right.
And you have to give them words to put on it, and you may have to reiterate it more than a few times before it really sticks in there. But that's the joy of teaching. That's the joy of parenting.
It's the joy of learning.
The joy of learning. Yes.
And I will tell you with absolute certainty that as a dad, my kids have taught me more about myself and about being a man than I have ever taught them. They have given me more than I have ever given them.
Yes.
And in my younger years, I wasn't so open to learning. So my learning had to be through hard knocks, as they say, through, trial and failure. They say trial and error, but not me, baby. It was trial and failure.
Just for the sake of our friends that are listening, we were having a dude conversation today, typical dude conversation, two dads sitting here talking about injuries, overcoming injuries, some of the crazy things that we did to think, I cannot believe, and so then you have to start thinking about how I'm almost like I'm repieced together like the $6 million man. But we're going to make me bigger and stronger and faster.
Right.
Yeah. Let's just say Rob's got spare parts. It's awesome.
Yeah. Some of those failures came with trophies.
They came with trophies. Yes.
So
but it wasn't. There was all self-inflicted. There was no external infliction there. No one else had to pay the price for this young man growing up to be the man he is at all.
I'm not so sure that's true. So to give a little bit of clarity to my life, I had the opportunity to be brought up in a home that was also a blended family.
Yes.
So I was raised by, I was raised by a dad who was not my genetic father. And he taught me a lot about being a man, about having commitment, about having consistency of behavior. That he challenged my mom for us to be in church every time the doors were open. I will say that he brought plenty of discipline to my backside. To my life. uh, Probably not nearly as much as I deserved, but
Yeah.
I got plenty.
Fond memories.
Fond memories. I can still feel them. But because of that, I think it equipped me to become a better dad.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that I would have had the heart that I have today.
Right.
Were it not for that.
I similarly, I've had both of my parents, but they, after me, either there was something wrong, so they decided to choose the next child instead of have the next child. So they adopted my sister, and it was wonderful. We're all close. We're doing good. But to this day, we will be in just some casual topic conversation, and she will say, "Well, one time, Dad took me here and told me this," and I'm thinking, he didn't tell me. How'd you get the better part of all that? And of course, I don't want to embarrass her. I'm glad that she had moments with our dad, but I thought, there's a man who chose. He fell in love with that little girl.
Yes.
And she, to this day, she's a wonderful mom. She does good things. And now that I've heard some of these stories that I didn't even know, about things to do, like how to take care of your car when you're on a road trip. Just little things like that. Just little dad drops, I just made that up, a dad drop, and then he just dropped that wisdom, and she never forgot it. And it's those type moments, but to make room in your heart, and I know you and Denise have done it, to make room in your heart to bring in a child that's not your own, to say there is room still in there. And so if you are a dad that's listening, maybe you're a young dad, and maybe you are, you feel like there's room in your heart. If not bringing a child into your home, maybe you go to them in some volunteer fashion and bring that godly manhood with you. It's priceless. It's a priceless gift that you can give away.
So what is a dad? What does it mean to be a dad? A dad is a leader.
Yes.
A dad is a follower.
Mm-hmm.
A dad is a mentor. A dad is a source of safety,
mm-hmm.
A source of discipline, an example of structure. And so often as a man, we want to tell people stuff.
Yeah.
Right? We want to be heard. We hope or expect, so often we expect other people to hear our words and do what we say.
Yes.
Because we want to fix the problem.
We want to be the problem solver.
Right.
We want to be the solution.
But as a dad, you get this amazing opportunity that you don't necessarily have to solve all the problems, but you can be a listener.
Yes.
You can actually listen to these people, the co-parent, whoever that may be,
mm-hmm.
but those kids. You really want to have an impact on a kid's life?
Mm-hmm.
Be a man that listens.
Yes.
And watch how valued they feel when they begin to understand that they've been heard.
Right.
What a difference that makes as a dad.
Indeed.
And if I could go back and change it again, which made me cry if I talk about it too much, but if I could go back and change it with our oldest ones,
mm-hmm.
I would go back and be a better listener.
Yes.
Because I failed miserably as a man, as a dad. I did not learn to listen.
Right.
And I'm still learning. I don't mean that I've perfected it in any way.
Right.
But I'm still learning. And back then, when I was in those early years of parenthood, I sucked at it.
Yeah.
I was probably the worst listening type person on the planet.
Right.
And I have great regret about that.
And that's a good word, regret, because I'll share the same thing. And I remember as my kids got older and more into their adulthood, and by that point, I finally grew up, and I would go.
You did?
I finally took enough. And I'll tell you what, I grew up enough to apologize.
Okay, you grew up enough
to apologize.
That's a qualifier.
I am sorry. I could have done this better. And they were so sweet. They're like, "No, you did a good job." And I'm thinking, you don't know what I know, because maybe I was young and kind of desperate. Maybe I was more afraid than confident, right. And I didn't have a way to supply that fear like I should have. I mean, there were components, but I wasn't exercising. There was a godly component. There were some other learning components and those things, but it didn't quite all sink in. And so likewise, there were regrets. But what I hope was by the time they matured into their familyhood, that I could, they have enough of a rapport that I could start dropping some things in there. Maybe they can get there quicker than I did.
Well, part of what I fought with and struggled with so badly in my youth as a man was insecurity. And I didn't know how to verbalize that in a safe way. I never felt secure. I never felt safe to say that I was insecure. And I would wager that that's not an uncommon thing among our type, among men.
Yes.
And people talk about how, there's this belief that women are the weaker sex or that they have more anxiety or whatever. I'm going to tell you that's some poppycock right there, because as a man who's been through my life, I can tell you that a lot of my failings as a man, a lot of my disappointments that I lived and gave to everybody in my life were because I was insecure and anxious.
Yes.
I had enormous amounts of anxiety. I didn't even know what to call it back then.
Right. I
just had these weird, irrational fears.
Right.
Of things that I thought could happen or that I could fail at. Mm-hmm. So I allowed those things to direct me through or into failure.
Right.
And if we as men could be a source of listening, we could probably, stem the tide of that anxiety for our kids, whether they be male kids or girl kids. We could help them by showing them how valued they are. And that, kids don't learn by what we say. No. They don't. You can tell them all you want.
Right.
They ain't gonna learn.
No.
They're gonna learn through two things: experience, which is the hard way, and by watching what you do.
Yes.
And if you can show them that it's okay to have anxiety, it's okay to express, I have anxiety and this is what it means.
Right.
It's okay to express that I have a fear of this, but it doesn't stop me from living. And show them that it's relatively typical and normal and okay and healthy, then they can learn to express themselves and not have to have the same pitfalls.
Right.
And I think that part of being a successful dad and mom, but especially, I can't speak for mom. I can't speak for what it's like to be a successful mom.
Right.
But I think part of what would be one of the most successful things as a dad would be to show your kids your weaknesses.
Yes.
To express to them, hey, I feel weak in this area. Maybe not a 5-year-old kid, but there are ways to communicate that even to a 5-year-old kid, and show them that as a man, I am strong through my humility.
Right. I
am strong through my honesty and integrity. I have good character enough to admit this is a part of my life that I need improvement with.
Yes. And I love that because it seems like before our children have a why, which is their, the drive toward their passions and their purposes, they need a how. So they need to see us sit at the kitchen table and watch us work through a problem to a solution. And it could be something so simple. I'm reminded of an example. I was out years and years ago, 20 years ago, and back when I could still have dairy products. I was eating some yogurt at this yogurt shop, and there was a man there with his son, and they were having just good dialogue. It was like a dad dude day. They were out and doing their thing, and some of that boy's yogurt spilt on the table, and he goes, "Oh no!" And the dad goes, "Well, what do you think we should do?" And I'm sitting right behind them, and I'm thinking, good question.
Yeah.
And so the boy goes, "We need a napkin." He goes, "Do you know where they are?" He goes, "I think they're over there." He goes, "Well, go see if you can find it. Go ahead. I'll stay here and watch our things." And so the boy gets out of the booth and runs, gets some napkins, come back. And then the dad kind of helped him wipe. He goes, "Look at you making good decisions." And all that happened in less than a few minutes. But what was the first thing he asked him? "What do you think we should do?"
Right.
And he taught his son in a moment just a little bit about problem solving
and critical thinking.
Yes. And it's just a spilt drop of yogurt.
So what a life lesson from spilled yogurt.
And from spilled milk, as they say. And as that progressed, I often imagine, now that boy's probably 25, I bet he's just a mover and a shaker. I bet he is getting things done with those little bitty moments along the way. Dad didn't panic. Dad didn't impugn him.
Right.
"Look at what you're doing, son." No, he was like, "Well, what do you think?" And I love that question. What do you think? And so he taught him.
It's pretty amazing. I have a similar story growing up. I love to fish, and there were several men in my life throughout my childhood that took me fishing, taught me how to fish. Mm-hmm. But more than the fishing itself was the time I got to spend with these older men. Mm-hmm. One of them was my grandfather, and one of them was a great uncle that I had. And the first trip I took to saltwater fish was at a place that anybody that's watching the show from around here will know what used to be Rollover Pass.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist anymore. They filled it in. So sad. But my first experience saltwater fishing was at Rollover Pass. Well, when we used to fish there, people would line up on the edge of it was a concrete walkway with a metal bulkhead. And you would walk up to that, cast your line out, and there were people just lined up in rows or in a row fishing. Well, that was all well and good if you knew how to keep your line untangled from everybody else's. But if you didn't and you hung a big fish, it meant trouble. So I'm out there and I'm sitting next to this stuff, and I was a little kid. I don't know how old I was, probably 6 or 7, young. And a fish got on the line, and my great uncle says, "Reel it in, son." So I start reeling it in, and it's stronger than me, and I'm getting scared that the thing's going to pull me. I remember thinking, this thing's going to pull me in the water.
Oh, wow.
And it starts pulling, and I have to start walking to stay with it, and it pulls me all the way down the whole row of all those people fishing. And I tangled up into, I don't even know how many other people's fishing lines. And all I remember hearing was my uncle yelling at me, "Stop, you're getting in everybody else's way, and you're getting this," and apologizing to everybody else for me because I was being, I was making a mess. And when all that was said and done, I got the fish in. Finally, I did catch the fish.
All right.
It was an amberjack. Amberjack didn't even belong there, but he, for whatever reason, I caught an amberjack. And I was so proud that I finally landed the fish. But all my uncle said to me was, "I'm never bringing you fishing again. I cannot believe you tangled everybody's lines up." And it was my first time. I didn't know what I was doing. And I felt like small as a flea. I felt terrible. And I'm pretty sure I was crying. I just remember feeling so bad. So fast forward to a few years later, or maybe not even, for all I know, it may have been the same year. My grandfather took me fishing at a place called The Landing on Lake Conroe. And he had a upper floor room with a balcony, and he let me fish off the balcony. And there were other people below us on their balcony fishing. And I cast it out, and it was fresh water, and it had a bobber on it. And the bobber went down, and I set the hook, and I reeled it in. It had 2 perch on it. On one line, he had put a leader on there with 2 hooks, with worms. He was really trying to give me a good chance.
Yeah.
And I reeled it in, and they were so bright and colorful and beautiful. And as I was reeling it in, it swung, and it hit the balcony downstairs, and there were people down there, and they were like, "Hey," they were saying something. My grandpa said, "It's his first time." So the difference was my grandfather protected me and made me feel like I had accomplished something, even though it was just, small, and I was a little awkward and sloppy. He made me feel as though I was valued and protected, and I'd done a good thing. And that made me want to go fishing again.
Yes.
So give your kids a chance. The kids in your life, it doesn't have to be your kids.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to feel the sense of accomplishment and joy in their life.
Right.
Like with the yogurt.
Yes.
That dad gave that kid a chance to make a decision on his own.
Yes.
And then to feel ownership and responsibility and joy in the outcome.
Yes.
What a beautiful thing.
Right.
That kid's never going to forget that.
Ever. He'll pass that on.
So what does it mean to be a dad? Being a dad means bringing value to your kid's life.
Yeah.
In any and every way you possibly can. And that's a big one.
There you go.
That's a type of mentorship.
Even like with your grandfather's story, he was going to hang in there until he gave you an I can moment. I can do this. I can catch fish. I can be like everybody else.
Yes.
Like him.
A big man.
Like a big man.
Yeah.
Exactly. And from that point forward, you felt a member.
Yes.
I'm a member of the club. And of course, y'all know y'all had lots of fishing trips and fishing stories. So he just kept reiterating using fishing.
Yes.
Something that is a fun recreational thing to do. But the lessons, And we've had him on the show. If you are a fan of the show, go back and look at our Podbean platform. He's on there. Rob's grandpa is on there. I presume it's the same grandpa we talk about.
Weldon Casper, if you want to look him up. His interview is on the long form podcast, audio only format, or on YouTube. I'll give you another little story if you'd like.
Yeah.
One more with him. Later on in life, I was headed toward my teen years. I think I was 10 or 11. And he used to teach me. We would go out on this old boat. He had named the boat Suds. My cousin Ricky, I think, named it. And it had the name Suds stickered on the side. And we're out in Sabine Lake, which is a saltwater local lake. And we're fishing. And I had this tendency of getting really excited. And I reeled the line up all the way to the leader touched the tip of the pole. And he would get so frustrated. He'd tell me, don't reel it all the way in. Pull it up, swing it over the boat, and I'll help you get the fish off. Well, every time I'd hang a fish, and I was really fast at catching fish, too. That was the other thing. I'd hang one, I'd hook a fish, reel it in real fast, and I'd be like, come on, let's get the fish off so I can put it back in the water and catch another one. Yeah. And every time, invariably, I'd reel it all the way up to the pole, and he'd get mad at me. So one of the things that I knew I was growing up was my grandpa scolded me one time. And grandpa didn't get mad. Like almost ever never did he show anger towards the grandkids. But this time it's just he and I out in the boat, and I kept doing it. And I knew I was messing up, but I was having so much fun. I reeled it all the way up to the tip, and I heard it go stink. And he heard it, and he looked over at me. You know what he said? You don't have to be such a jackass. I will never forget it in my whole life. The first time my grandfather scolded me with what in my mind at the moment was profanity. I mean, it was like, whoa, grandpa just treated me like a man. And he just told me not to be a jackass. And I'm going to tell you something, that moment in time, like, grandpa, you changed my life with that word. I didn't reel my very rarely, if ever, did I ever reel it all the way up to the tip of the pole anymore.
Oh, that's awesome.
I felt like a man then.
That's right.
Because if he could talk to me like that, I had been accepted.
You were accepted.
Yes.
I love that story.
Anyway, it's just funny.
No, that's good. He was given perfect wisdom in that moment. Didn't even really know it.
Yeah.
You know,
he was just frustrated at me.
Yeah. Yes. But it changed you. Yeah. You know, if enough in that moment. And you were not the same fisherman after that.
And now the funniest thing is I have a 26-year-old son, and I've trained him the same way. And I cannot tell you how many moments that I watched him reel the thing all the way up to the tip of the pole.
It is genetic.
Yes. And I finally got to use the line, son. You don't have to be a jackass. You can just leave some line there so we can get the fish off.
I hope it took.
It did. It did. Well, now he takes his own fish off. But
there you go.
Oh my gosh, man! You talk about coming full circle.
Oh, the circle of life. Going to happen with the baby boy too. Oh, it's going to happen if it hasn't already.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, he's probably a little young to understand that language just yet, but it's coming.
He's pretty quick.
He's pretty quick.
Got a good foundation to build on.
All right.
So, friends in our audience, whether you're male or female, if you get the opportunity to parent children, mentor children, first live the example.
Yes.
Whatever you want them to do, show them. You can tell them till you're blue in the face, but they're going to change according to what they see you do, according to how they see you behave. What you say is very little in the form of molding them and shaping them. What you do is everything.
That's it.
What do you think? Probably 98.2 percentage wise.
Probably.
So, and the craziest thing is that I've learned as a dad, if you think they don't know, if you think you got some part of your life that's hidden and they don't know about it, they know.
They know.
It's it's like, I mean, think about this. When you were a kid, was there anything about your parents that you really didn't know? Not a whole lot.
No.
So just imagine it's the same way.
That's right.
If not worse.
That's right. We are on display.
Yeah.
And it takes courage. And hopefully we'll encourage some of that courage development in this series.
Yes.
Because, once you get that in some sense of motivating mastering. Now mastering how to be courageous, how to be a little vulnerable.
Yes. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Vulnerability.
Yes. You are creating such a winning atmosphere for your children, because I guarantee you, and I think you know this, they are scared. They're scared, and the older they get, the more they realize there is life beyond the borders of our property. It's a big, bad, scary world out there, and they want to see us handle that world in courageous ways and not cowardice ways. And so hopefully we'll encourage some of that here in the episodes to come.
Well, thank you guys out there for joining us. We're looking forward to this new series about being a dad and fatherhood. We're going to invite some really cool guests on here, and we really would love to hear from you. What does fatherhood mean to you? Are you a dad? How was it for you as a child? What was having a dad, or did you have one or not? And if you didn't have a dad in your life, how's that impacting you raising your own kids? Yeah. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to be a help to you if there's anything we can do for you. So please join us again next Tuesday at 10 o'clock for another episode of What Are We Doing on Being a Dad and Fatherhood. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rob with Pursuit of Purpose.
I'm Chuck.
And thank you for allowing us to become a part